Okay, so let's just have the real conversation that every mid-sized luxury SUV buyer is eventually going to have with themselves. BMW X3 or Mercedes GLC? Because these two have been going back and forth for dominance in this segment for years now, and depending on who you ask, you'll get a completely different answer. BMW people will tell you the X3 drives better. Mercedes people will tell you the GLC feels more premium. And honestly, both camps have a point. But here's what nobody seems to want to say out loud. In 2026, one of these has genuinely pulled ahead, and today I'm making the case for which one and exactly why. We're breaking down the 2026 Mercedes-Benz GLC today. Full powertrain breakdown, exterior design, interior experience, and my honest personal take on how it measures up against the X3 and whether it deserves to win that comparison. Let's get into it properly. Now, before we go any further, quick shout out to everyone who keeps coming back to this channel. You guys are genuinely the reason we keep doing this. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now, join the Luxury Motor family, and let's keep this conversation going together. All right, GLC, I'm ready to talk about this thing. Here's something I want to start with that I think most reviews completely skip over. The reason the GLC versus X3 debate is so persistent and so heated is because these two vehicles represent fundamentally different answers to the same question. What should a mid-sized luxury SUV prioritize? BMW answers that question with driving dynamics first, everything else second. Mercedes answers it with environment first, experience first, the feeling of being somewhere special every time you get in. And I've come to understand that neither answer is wrong, they're just different. The question is which answer matches your actual life. Now let's talk about what Mercedes put under the hood for 2026, because the GLC's powertrain lineup is one of the most thoughtfully constructed in this class. Your entry point is the GLC 300, running a 2.0-liter four-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine producing 258 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission and available in both rear-wheel drive and 4MATIC all-wheel drive configurations. I've noticed that 258 horsepower in the GLC feels more substantial than comparable numbers in some competitors, and I think that comes down to two things. The 9-speed transmission is exceptionally well calibrated, finding the right gear with this almost intuitive quality that makes power delivery feel smooth and natural rather than mechanical and deliberate. And the GLC's overall refinement level means that power gets to the road cleanly without the drivetrain vibrations or hesitations that can dilute the experience in some rivals. Comparing directly to the X3 xDrive 30i at 245 horsepower, the GLC 300 has a meaningful output advantage, but more importantly, it has a refinement advantage in everyday driving that I believe matters more than the raw numbers. Now here's where the GLC genuinely separates itself from the X3, and honestly from most things in this segment. The plug-in hybrid variants, the GLC 300e and GLC 400e. The 300e produces a combined 313 horsepower and delivers around 65 to 70 miles of pure electric range on the European WLTP cycle, translating to real-world electric range comfortably above 50 miles in varied conditions. I've learned that 50 real-world electric miles covers the daily driving of the overwhelming majority of people who will ever own this car. You could genuinely own a GLC 300e and never visit a petrol station for weeks at a time if your daily routine is suburban and urban driving. The 400e steps things up further, with around 381 combined horsepower. This is where things get genuinely exciting, because that output in the GLC's chassis produces a driving experience that I used to think was impossible from a plug-in hybrid SUV. It's quick, genuinely quick, with this smooth electric surge underpinning the combustion engine's contribution in a way that feels seamless rather than mechanical. 0 to 60 in around 4.6 seconds. I realized when I first drove the 400e that my preconceptions about PHEV performance were just outdated. This thing is flat out fast. What I've come to understand about the GLC's hybrid system specifically is that Mercedes has been refining this PHEV architecture across multiple vehicle lines for long enough that the integration is genuinely mature. The transitions between electric and combustion power are imperceptible in normal driving. The battery management is intelligent enough that the system preserves electric range strategically when it anticipates urban driving ahead based on your navigation input. That's not a gimmick. That's genuinely useful technology that changes how you interact with the car day to day. The AMG GLC 43, with its 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder producing 421 horsepower in a mild hybrid configuration, rounds out the performance end of the lineup. 0 to 60 in around 4.1 seconds. AMG suspension tuning, AMG exhaust note, the whole performance package. I've experienced this variant, and I want to be honest, it's genuinely thrilling in a way that the numbers alone don't fully capture. The chassis feels like it was calibrated by people who actually care about driving, which, given this is an AMG product, shouldn't be surprising, but remains impressive regardless. Let's talk about how the 2026 GLC looks outside, because this is an area where I have some genuine enthusiasm and some real opinions. Mercedes made a deliberate choice with the GLC exterior design philosophy that I've grown to deeply appreciate. Where BMW trends toward taut athleticism and Audi trends toward precise geometry, Mercedes went for something that I can only describe as sculptural confidence. The GLC looks like it was shaped rather than designed, like the surfaces have an organic flow to them that gives the car genuine visual warmth alongside its obvious premium presence. The front end leads with that distinctive three-pointed star in a sealed grille treatment that signals luxury intent immediately. The headlights, particularly in the optional digital light configuration, have this precision and depth to their graphic that honestly looks like something from a significantly more expensive vehicle. I've noticed that good headlight design is one of those details that communicates brand investment in a way that even non-car people register unconsciously. The GLC's lights are exceptional. The side profile is elegantly proportioned, with a long hood, well-placed roofline, and this gentle coupe-like rear roofline treatment that gives the standard GLC a slightly more dynamic silhouette than its boxy competitors, without resorting to the actual GLC coupe body style. That rising window line adds visual tension, and the overall surface treatment has a depth to it that catches light differently throughout the day. I used to underestimate how much surface quality matters on a daily driver. Looking back now, I realize it's one of those things that either gives you quiet satisfaction every morning or faint disappointment, and the GLC consistently delivers the former. Comparing to the X3's more athletic angularity and the Q5's more conservative approach, the GLC occupies this distinctive middle ground of premium elegance with just enough dynamism to feel purposeful rather than purely formal. In my opinion, it's the most visually resolved design in the mid-size luxury SUV segment right now, and I'd have that argument with anyone. Wheel options range from 18 to 21 inches depending on trim level, and the larger AMG line alloys in particular give the GLC a planted, authoritative road presence that photographs beautifully and looks even better in person. The color palette for 2026 includes some genuinely expressive metallic options, a spectacular spectral blue and a deeply rich obsidian black that I personally think are the two definitive ways to specify this car visually. Now inside, and I want to spend real time here, because the GLC's interior is where I believe it makes its most compelling argument against the X3 and everything else in this class. MBUX, with the standard 11.9-inch portrait format central touchscreen, is the centerpiece of the GLC's interior technology experience. I've experienced a lot of touchscreen interfaces across a lot of vehicles, and I want to be specific about what makes MBUX genuinely different. It's not just the screen size or the processing speed, which both are excellent. It's the intelligence of the system, the way it learns your preferences over time, the way the voice assistant understands genuinely natural conversational commands rather than requiring specific trigger phrases, the way augmented reality navigation overlays directional arrows directly onto a live camera feed of the road ahead in a way that makes following directions in complex urban environments almost effortless. What I've noticed when comparing MBUX directly to iDrive 8 in the X3 is that they represent two different philosophies about what in-car technology should be. iDrive 8 is clean, fast, and logical. MBUX is more ambitious, more sophisticated, and frankly, more impressive as a technological achievement, though it occasionally asks more of you to operate at its full capability. For me personally, I find MBUX more rewarding over time, even if iDrive 8 is slightly more immediately intuitive. The material quality throughout the GLC cabin is flat out the best in this competitive set. I want to be direct about that. The Napa leather upholstery options have a suppleness and quality that the X3's merino leather matches but doesn't surpass. The genuine wood trim options have a warmth and grain depth that synthetic alternatives in competitor vehicles simply cannot replicate. The ambient lighting system, with its 64 color options and multiple zone customization, creates an evening interior atmosphere that genuinely elevates the ownership experience in a way that sounds indulgent until you've actually experienced it daily for a few weeks. Over time, I've learned that interior atmosphere is one of the most underrated factors in long-term vehicle satisfaction. You can get used to performance, you can adapt to technology, but the feeling of being somewhere genuinely special every time you get in, that either stays with you or